Now let's move on to Florida and Mississippi State. Next game we're going to cover with Al McMorty, another interesting one that I thought I liked the side on the opening line, and the line has moved in my favor. Now I'm questioning it a little bit more and more as I look deeper into it. I took Mississippi State at -7. Obviously, this is a huge game with Mullen, coming back to Mississippi State. I took Mississippi State -7. Florida, of course, coming off the huge win against Tennessee, and Mississippi State got blasted by Kentucky. Al McMorty gave us last week Kentucky plus the points. And that was obviously very much the right side. I thought this was a bounce back spot for Mississippi State. I took them at +7. Now it's up to 7.5 or 8. But now I'm not sure how I feel about this one. Both these teams, of course, played Kentucky, and I do think that Florida's performance against Kentucky was the quote-unquote better performance. Al McMorty, what do you like here? Florida, Mississippi State.
Oh, I'm with you on the Bulldogs. As you mentioned, last week I had a big play on Kentucky as the double-digit underdog. The key to this game, I think, is the magnitude of those games last week. Florida won 47-21 as a 4.5-point favorite at Tennessee, so they covered the spread by 21.5 points. In contrast, Mississippi State was upset 28-7 as a double-digit favorite, so they failed to cover the spread by 31 points. And when you get teams off an upset conference loss by 18 or more points, those teams have covered just 24 of 78 conference games since 1980 versus opponents up a straight up and against a spread win. I think both teams are going to kind of have the opposite effect of last week's results. I think Florida's going to have a letdown. I think Mississippi State's going to bounce back. I'm going to take the Bulldogs minus the 7.5.
And what about the Mullen factor? Everyone's talking about how Mullen knows the Mississippi State players better than anyone. And Fitzgerald has not looked like a superhero so far. He looks like a guy with some limitations as a quarterback. What's your take on Fitzgerald, if any, and what's your take on the Mullen factor, if any?
Well, I think whenever people talk about the stuff about coaches knowing things or whatever, I think a lot of times that's just a bunch of noise. Right. I think writers have to write about things, and that's something you write about.
Yeah, that's what I do. I have to fill up the time somehow with something. So if I have to, rely on bullshit once in a while, I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Ian Cameron, I took Mississippi State on the opening line at 7.5. At 7. I did also give that as an official pick in the Low Shack in the Bag show early in the week. Now there are no 7s available at the major books. Al McMorty's going to have to take 7.5 -104, which is the current line at Pinnacle. What do you think, Ian Cameron? Is Mississippi State the play here?
Yeah, I think the coaches facing their old teams is just like a meaningless talking point. I agree with that. Like the New England offense knew Matt Patricia's defensive schemes going into last week against Detroit. Did it help them? No. I mean, they had one of their worst offensive performances in a long time against that Detroit defense last week. So from that standpoint, I think it's all overrated. I look at the matchups. I look at the stats. I look at the situation, the schedule, how it lays out when I'm looking at the game. I really don't look at a coach going back to his old stomping grounds. But I'm with Al here in this one too. On Mississippi State. Look, Florida, I cashed with them against Colorado State a couple weeks ago. I'll take it. But you look at these last two games for Florida, everyone's going to look at the score. 95-31 combined score. They beat Colorado State and Tennessee in the last two games. They only won those games yardage-wise by a combined 46 total yards. It was a bunch of turnovers. It was a bunch of short fields. It was a bunch of mistakes by the opponents that gave Florida those opportunities. I mean, they beat a horrible Colorado State team with no defense. All four of us could move the ball against that Colorado State team. Tennessee last week, he got guys leaving the field, leaving the game right in the middle of the game, and coach sending guys to the back. I mean, that's how bad Tennessee's season has started. So you can't make too much of what Florida's done. And Florida, yardage-wise, barely did enough to get by those teams, even though the score indicates they blew those two teams out. So Felipe Franks isn't doing it for me. Barely 50% of his passes. The defense has struggled to get stops. I know Nick Fitzgerald's had an uncharacteristic poor performance so far. His completion rate needs to be better. The ground game needs to get better for the Bulldogs. But I think after a humbling loss to Kentucky, I think this Kentucky team we're starting to find out is a little better than people thought. I think Mississippi State can come back, get the job done. I think they can win this game by double digits. So I'm going to lay the points here and make that official as well on the Bulldogs.
Okay, so Ian Cameron will also take Mississippi State -7.5, -104. And again, I made an official pick as well on Monday when there's still 7s available. And so I'm on that one as well. And I guess I'm feeling a little bit better about it right now. Both Al McMorty and Ian Cameron, they're going to take Mississippi State -7.5, -104.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.